we'll get back into more discussion about the Marlins trade, that huge blockbuster trade that hasn't been approved, by the way, yet by MLB.
Good.
Their trade with the Blue Jays. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But now, on the PizzaInterCrust.com phone lines, we have James Dotson of the 360 Sports Network, who talks with us every Wednesday. Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, doing well. What's up, guys?
Not bad, not bad. We need you. I think Christian needs some help with his fantasy team.
Stupid. I was down by 3 points at halftime. All I needed was Big Ben to get me 4 more points. And he dislocates ribs. He has a shoulder injury. I lose. I'm 6-4 now. And I got Big Ben out for a while. Now, the only other quarterback on my roster is Phillip Rivers. Can I roll with Phillip Rivers?
Seeing as you don't know how long Roethlisberger is going to be out, and this sounds extremely dangerous with it being so close to the aorta, this dislocated rib, you got to get at least a backup, and Phillip Rivers is not somebody who I'm going to trust week in, week out, and especially against Denver this week. Not to mention how many good quarterbacks there actually are out there in free agency. It's the year of the quarterback. You can pick up pretty much anybody. The one guy I'd pick up, though, is Carson Palmer. He's available in 70% of leagues. He's playing New Orleans, who has the 31st ranked pass defense this week. Almost everybody from Oakland is a solid play this week. Their running back Marcel Reese is out there in about 80% of leagues. Darius Haywood-Bay out there in still about 40 to 50% of leagues in most formats. They're all huge plays that a lot of people aren't thinking of and are sitting out there on waivers that you can pick up if you're in especially quarterback need. But anybody Oakland is worth it this week.
But would you drop Ben Roethlisberger this close to playoffs for fantasy leagues?
You know what? If I knew more about the injury, and I could tell you for sure that he's going to be out for a while, then yes, I would say go ahead and drop him. The thing is, even though it does sound bad right now, we have so little information about this kind of injury. We haven't heard of this injury in 15 years now as a rugby player. So because of that, I would still hang on to him because he is Roethlisberger. He is going to get good points. Now, however, when you already have a pretty solid backup in Phillip Rivers, he's not a good quarterback, but he's going to get you good fantasy points. If you need that one more spot, if you're one game away from making playoffs, you can't be afraid to go ahead, roll the dice, and get rid of Ben to get that one more win to pick up that one guy on waivers that you absolutely need. So I would say hang on to him if you can, but if you need that roster spot, don't be afraid to get rid of him.
And you would say Carson Palmer is the top guy to go get.
Yeah, Carson Palmer's out there, especially for this week. They're throwing the ball. That's all I can say about that. He's throwing it, getting over 300 yards week in, week out, and he's got a great matchup. They're always playing from behind, too, so you know he's going to get points that way. Other guys, if you needed to look at, Ryan Tannehill. I was going to say Colin Kaepernick, actually, but it sounds like Alex Smith will be back, so forget him. Even Andy Dalton is still out there in almost 90% of leagues, believe it or not. So he's somebody who you can even look to pick up.
Now, another player that fantasy owners have to be absolutely, punching themselves in the crotch over is Vernon Davis. What in the world he is irrelevant, but I can't drop him because I know the week I drop him, he has 10 catches and 189 yards.
Yeah, well, I hear you, and especially I believe you still have Brandon Myers, who is still listed as questionable. So you might end up being forced into starting Vernon Davis
against the Bears defense.
Until a few minutes ago with a backup quarterback. So that's the thing. They're not looking at him. And like you said, it's tough to drop him because he's somebody who can all of a sudden explode because he has that talent. Honestly, I give him one more week. And it's tough to say that, especially playing Chicago, but you can use that roster spot in so many better ways. When we get down close to the playoffs, some starters are going to start getting benched on teams that aren't playoff bound. They're going to want to try out some new guys, and I'll tell you what, that's what wins and loses leagues. I remember winning a championship a few years ago by playing Sammy Morris in the championship game, Week 16. He had about 5 carries going into that game, and he ran it for 20 times for like 90 yards, and that was what alone won me the game, and he came out of nowhere. So sometimes you're going to need those spots. It's tough to get rid of them, but I'll give him one more week to show me something before I get rid of Vernon Davis.
So you're telling me to start Vernon over Myers this week? I just read Myers did practice today.
I would say, as you get closer to game time, definitely if Myers is playing, you have to play him, especially with that matchup. But you have to keep Vernon Davis for the sheer reason that something could pop up. It could re-aggravate the injury, Brandon Myers, that is, and you need to have somebody.
My team's full of people who can't play. I have I have Myers might not play. I have Antonio Brown who's not going to play. I have Maurice Jones-Drew who's not going to play.
Yeah, listen, Jones-Drew should be back within probably another week, I think, and he's someone you're definitely going to want for playoffs. Antonio Brown, though, I just heard today the injury might be more severe than they originally thought. Listen to that, as especially this week goes on. He might be out for 3 or 4 more weeks, and if so, you're into the fantasy playoffs. He's not going to provide you that huge of a stud for a championship game if you were to make it that far. Listen as the week goes on, but I'm looking at possibly getting rid of Antonio Brown because the injury does not sound good. Listen again through this week and see what new information pops up. But he's someone don't be afraid to get rid of as well.
All right, I got one more question, and Ellis has a couple. I know I hogged most of your time, and
yes,
I do.
Yes, you
Sorry,
do.
Ellis. But I went and did something in good faith that could maybe help me come playoff time. I went and snagged up Beanie Wells, who's due to come off that non-season-ending IR here in the next few weeks. Could that maybe help me come playoff time? Is that something other people might want to look at doing?
Yeah, it would be. There's no one else to run. I mean, Rod Stevens-Howling, great guy. I like him. He's a tough player, but he's 5'6". He's not going to last very long out there. They need somebody who's going to run the ball. They showed early that they're willing to run it. Now they're getting somebody who should be able to, and he should be well rested. Like I said, he's someone like a Sammy Morris who isn't going to get carries early in the year, but all of a sudden at the end of the year, he's getting you fantasy points relevant. So, yeah, if you're in need of a running back, look in the next week or so when he comes off of it, or even now if you have an open spot, go ahead and snag him. He's someone who's worth the risk.
I'm done, Ellis.
Okay. We're talking to James Dotson of the 360 Sports Network. I have a little bit of a conundrum when it comes to my team in Christian's League. I have both Matthew Stafford and also Andrew Luck. They both have good matchups against defenses that aren't very strong against the pass. Who should I go with in this upcoming week?
I would go with Matthew Stafford this week. It seems like he's gotten back in touch with Calvin Johnson, and that's what spells absolute trouble for defenses. Not to mention there's just something about a rookie quarterback going up to Foxborough that just kind of scares me. I don't care how bad that defense really is. I'm just a little bit unsure about that. The one thing you also got to look at here is that Andrew Luck is getting most of his touchdowns actually on the ground, believe it or not, versus through the air. So if you get more points for rushing versus passing touchdowns, which most leagues do, then you have to at least consider the idea of playing Luck over Stafford. But the way Stafford's playing right now, and he's playing at home, not in Foxborough, I think that makes a difference for this week.
All right, I have Reggie Bush on my team. Actually, I have Reggie Bush on a couple of teams, and he started off the season so well, but he's been killing me these past couple of weeks. Last week he fumbled. He ended up getting benched because of that fumble. He only got maybe 5 points the entire game. I have Mikel LaShore. I also have Felix Jones on my bench. Is it time to bench Bush and maybe bring in LaShore or Felix Jones?
Not this week. I am worried about that fumble problem too, and he said it himself. I got to do better. I got to hold on to the ball. The reason I say no is because he actually has a pretty darn good matchup this week. Mikel LaShore, he can go, but I mean, you see Joyce Bell in the backfield getting 7 or 8 catches every week, so he's losing touches there. Felix Jones, especially because Murray's supposed to be back, hopefully by next week. He should be back, so he's going to start losing touches, and he doesn't get quality looks anyway to begin with out there. So I would go with Reggie Bush, especially with the matchup this week against Buffalo, the bottom dweller of all defenses. Even if he fumbles, he's still probably going to get 15, 16 touches because they'll be winning big and against a bad defense.
All right, James. And in another league, I have Vernon Davis as my tight end as well, but I do have some options, though, because I also have Owen Daniels and Scott Chandler on my bench. I'm probably going to bench Davis, so with Owen Daniels against, let's see, who are the Houston Texans playing? They're playing Jacksonville, or Scott Chandler playing against Miami. Which one's the better matchup, you think?
See, Chandler is so hit and miss that it's tough to say this, but I will go with Chandler this week for the sheer reason Owen Daniels, he scores touchdowns. That's great. Jacksonville, though, don't be what's the word I'm looking for here? Don't be surprised. Don't be fooled, I guess I should say, by Jacksonville's poor numbers on defense. They have the 23rd most passing yards allowed by a defense this year, but they've given up the second fewest touchdowns of anybody in the league, and that's where Owen Daniels will get you points. That's where your tight end will get you points. So because of that, I will go with Chandler this week, and I'll take a little bit of a risk. Any other week, Daniels for sure, but against Jacksonville, I don't trust that pass defense. They don't give up touchdowns.
All right, James, thanks a lot for your help. Both Christian and I appreciate it. Before we let you go, let everybody know what you do out there.
Absolutely. We are 360 Sports Network. You can find us, just Google us, 360sportsnetwork.com. Talking anything sports. We like to debate about what's wrong with sports for the most part. We love arguing about some of the rules of the game, why the NFL overtime is so stupid, why the college football overtime rule of having to go for 2 is so stupid. Lots of things like that. We just love to debate, discuss anything sports, and especially answering your fantasy questions. You can send them to us at our website or by following us on Twitter. Send us your questions there. Our handle is at 3S Network.
All right, thanks a lot, James. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, absolutely. Go get a win. Get in the playoffs, boys.
All right, that was James Dotson of the 360 Sports Network. I'm willing to argue anybody to the death